What we wanted to do today is to give you a perspective from the professors at North Central and what they expect from you as you enter into their classrooms. So what you're going to hear are some tips and ideas and thoughts about how to get off to a successful start here at North Central.
Well, I think one of the things that is qualitatively different about the college experience is your presence is very, very important in the classroom. I show up and I'm committed to being there for you. Coming to class is a big part of how we learn, and so informing me about whether or not you can make class probably will work for both of us so that we're informed about issues or things like that. Coming to class also means if there's an assignment due and you don't come to class, you still have the assignment to turn in. And so I've created, so I sometimes think that in high school, students think that if I don't go to school, then whatever's due today, I don't have to turn in. And it's very, very different in college, and I found that I've had to explain that to students. So I want them to know that right up front, and to know that they can turn an assignment in when it's due through the digital Dropbox, through our learning management system, so that they can communicate, and also have an assignment arrive on time without being punished for that, if in fact they can't make it to a classroom.
One of the most important things that I want my students to remember is that their education is not a spectator sport, and if they want to do well in their classes, they need to get active and be involved in everything that goes on.
What I would like is for students to take responsibility for their own education and their own learning, which I am more than willing to meet them halfway. But I need them to also expend the effort to meet me, that they need to understand why they're here if possible, understand why they decided to come to college and what their goals are, and then to really take ownership of those goals and work hard to try to meet them, whether those are in a particular class, with a grade or with the content, or in terms of getting a degree or a certificate. They need to know why they're here. And they need to really, like I say, take ownership of working toward whatever that goal is.
That's a thing that the faculty spends hundreds of hours preparing for each class, and I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, we spend so much time preparing the syllabus to tell the student everything they need to know about the class. It tells them who we are, where they can reach us, both by phone and by email. It tells them what books they should be reading. It tells them even what magazines and websites they should be looking at. It tells them the objectives for the course. So here's what you're going to get out of this course. And it tells them the requirements. So here's what you are going to put into this course. It tells them all those things. And then on most syllabi, it will also list out a week by week or day by day. Here's what we're going to be covering on this day. Here's the reading you need to be doing to keep abreast of that. And it's the manual or the guide to the course.
I think about my syllabus a lot. I put little images in there and arrows because I want to show them what's most important. I have this image of a mountain lion ready to pounce, and that's like the stuff you have to know. Things like what will happen if you're missing class. I have students come to me and say, I have to miss class. And I'm like, well, you know, the protocol for that was laid out there. You can talk to me, and I'm glad you're telling me about this, but the protocol is all there in the syllabus, all the rules that they'll have to follow. I also put all of the breakdown of their grade in there so that they can see that if 30% of their grade comes from, I use percentages in English, if 30% of their grade comes from this assignment, then that means each assignment, each time they miss that, they're missing 5% of their grade or something. So I tell my students that there should never be a mystery about what you're getting in this class. You should always be able to tell by talking to me and seeing what the syllabus says. It has a lot of information, and I also try to map out what's going to happen in the semester. It really is the contract that I go back to and refer to, and it took me a long time to learn that in college, that it was that important. And then I started laminating them and putting them on my walls and making sure I really knew that information.
I expect my students to come to class every day. because I think I have value to give them every day. However, most of our students aren't 18 years old, and probably the only thing that they're doing in life is not school. So things come up. They're sick, a child is sick, they might be caring for a parent. I understand that they have other outside pressures, so talk to us. Let us know what they are. We have ways that we can get them the information. Don't just disappear. You know, I can email you the syllabus. I can email you the assignment. You can email me back your paper. But just don't fade away. So come talk to us about what challenges you're having. We can't solve your challenges, but we can work within those challenges to try and make you successful.
If a student comes into my classroom and they have a goal of being invisible, they're generally not going to do very well. If the student comes in and they want me to know that they're there, even if they're doing stuff incorrectly and they want me to see that, they're going to do a lot better in the class. I'll know where they're at, and I can help them get from where they're at to where they need to be.
And one of my expectations in college is that students are here to learn, which also means to fail a little bit within reason. I don't want anybody to fail classes at all. I work really hard to make sure that that doesn't happen. But what I do need is for them to make things messy a little bit and then see how they could try something different and find a whole new way to break through to new levels of learning.
I think they need to know that the faculty actually care whether or not they're successful, that it actually makes a difference to us whether or not they do well, whether or not they're happy, whether or not they're successful or succeeding.
One of the things that I really love about my job is I'll get a student who comes into one of my classes at the early level, not liking the subject, not feeling that they can do well, and they start to grow in the subject, and I'll see them maybe a year, possibly 2 years later when they're taking college algebra or pre-calculus, and there's a huge difference in their attitude and their beliefs, not just in the subject but in themselves, and it's really an awesome thing to see.
I think oftentimes they think it's inconsequential to us that we do our job and get our paycheck anyway, but it doesn't feel like that from the faculty side. I really care if my students have a good experience in the classroom, if they feel like they're getting their money's worth. I tell them that a lot. I want you to get your money's worth when they groan about the workload. I want you to get your money's worth. You're paying for this. They don't realize that. They don't think about that because they're often not paying for it themselves. So it doesn't necessarily cross their consciousness that they're paying for a product. I'm delivering the product, and I care whether or not I do that well. I think they need to know that.
What I would like students to do is to really weigh whatever they're reading or whatever the class discussion is against their own experience and against the stuff that they're learning in their other classes, and arrive at their own opinions.
I think one of the things that students don't understand when they come here is that they're changing their life to become professionals. Our hope is that when they leave college, they're going to get a job where they need a college education, and basically that's a professional position. One of the differences between being a professional and being just a plain worker is you've got to be self-driven. You've got to be able to realize that a good idea is something that comes in on time and under budget in the real world, in industry. And we're actually training people to become professionals here. We think really hard about this, and we set up our syllabi so that we have budgets, we have deadlines, we have things that these students have to do, and basically, unbeknownst to them, what we're doing is we're helping them practice to become professionals. And our syllabi don't really show that, but that's one of the key factors that we look for in the way we develop our courses.
I get a lot of students who come into my classroom and say that they've never done well in math, they can't do math, and they give up before they ever walk in the door. And the students who really work with me, they come and see me in my office hours, they talk to me all the time, they answer questions in class, they start to realize through small victories that the subject really is attainable. It doesn't happen overnight, but a lot of my students come in with that attitude and they end up leaving very happy with the class. There's definitely a connection between success in math and success in college. There have been a lot of studies that have shown that the #1 predictor of graduating with a 4-year degree is just passing a single college-level mathematics class.
We hope it was helpful for you to hear from the professors here at North Central. But if you have any questions or concerns, you can contact them at any time. Just stop by their office, email, or call, because we're all here for you and we all want you to be successful here at North Central.